Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. This is Leah Dixon from Stampin' with Leah in Port Coquitlam, Canada, and I'm here this morning to create a beautiful card using the So Sentimental bundle. So this card was inspired by a sample that I shared the other day, created by somebody at Stampin' Up, and it was actually a little tag for some treats that said Yummylicious, and I was looking at it and I just wanted to share with people how that was created because there are two little tricks to it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we are using the So Sentimental bundle. This is a stamp set with some really nice sayings on it, and then a gorgeous set of dies. And now actually I'm missing two of them, they're just over here. Oh, sorry, three of them. So we're going to use three of the dies today. We've also got that piece, and another rectangle. So these are stitched and scalloped rectangles, as well as some really beautiful label pieces. And so we are using the second largest rectangle today, the largest label, and the second smallest label. So those are the ones that we are going to use on today's card. I'm going to set the rest off to the side. And so to get started, we're actually going to be doing some brayering. Good morning, Danielle. Good morning, Alice. Nice to see you. So I'm going to actually move all of this off to the side for a moment because we're going to get a little bit messy. I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock here, and this has been cut just smaller than the card front. Mostly it's because the two label pieces we're going to use will fit nicely on here at this size. I could probably have cut it a little bit smaller, but I want some leeway for making mistakes with my sponging, because this is not a technique that I do very often, although I've had so much fun with it. I think I may be doing more brayering in the future. So I'm going to be using some Granny Apple Green and one of our sponge brayers. So when you purchase these sponge brayers, they actually come in a little cardboard box, and when you open it up, you get two handles and 4 sponges that you can just pop on and off. And these sponges can also be washed. So it's not like you're limited to 4 colors or 4 shades of colors with using them. You can actually just rinse them out with cold water, let them air dry, and then they're good to go again. It'll be kind of like your Simply Chamois though. It won't look clean, but when you rub it on the paper, it won't leave any other color marks. So they won't look pretty after a while. I think I may actually buy some refill sponges so that, you know, I can keep all my greens with green and reds with red so that they don't get really ugly, and also it'll help me see that I've actually got my sponge inked. So when I'm inking my sponge, I'm going to roll just in one direction across the top of my ink pad, and I'm actually going to brayer this whole card. Even though you saw that on our sample card there's actually not the whole image isn't colored, and it actually takes up a lot less space than what we've got here. The reason for that is because when we start to brayer, the color sticks more to the edges of our paper, and so I wanted to be able to brayer first and then cut out our image so we don't get that dark line around the edge of our image. So with this inked up, I'm going to just start rolling fairly lightly at first to about the halfway mark, and then back down again and up again to about the halfway mark. Okay, I don't want to roll past half because I do want to have a significant amount of white on my dies once I cut them out. Good morning, Val. And then I'm going to come back in and ink some more, this time kind of staying a little bit lower. So I really do want it to fade off as we get to the top, so I'm going to put a lot more ink near the bottom. Okay, and you can roll in one direction continuously, or you can roll back and forth. Just be aware that as you roll back and forth, if there's significant changes in how you're rolling, you will start to see some diagonalish brayer lines. Those are pretty easy to hide by continuing to add layers though. And, you know, changing up how hard you press. You can press very lightly and do many strokes, or press a little bit harder and do fewer. You'll get more of a texture if you're pressing hard and more of a solid line though. So I try to keep the pressure very minimal so that I don't get those lines. Oh, good morning, Janice. So we're going to keep going in here until this is kind of the intensity that we want. So we could have kept it very light. I actually want it to be quite intense near the bottom. So we're going to keep doing layers. All right. And so the brayer is good though because it allows me to cover quite a large surface very quickly. I do like to use sponges a lot, but for a surface this big, it would be hard to get that even ombre effect and to cover all of this space in a relatively short amount of time. So just a little bit more here. So you can see it's starting to get quite dark at the bottom, which is exactly what I was looking for. All right, so I think that's about good. Just maybe a little bit more up there. Okay, so with that complete, it's hard to stop once you get going. All right, I just want to blend that a little bit more. Okay, there we go. With that complete, I'm going to put away my green ink. And we're going to move on to the next step. So you can see here what I was talking about how that edge gets very dark. That's why I didn't cut out my images first and then brayer them, because I didn't want that really dark edge on there. So we have a beautiful ombre effect here. Now I'm going to go grab my die cutting machine. And I'll move this out of the way. So with my die cutting machine here, I've got my magnetic plate, I've got a cutting plate. I'm going to put my ombre paper on here, and I'm going to grab two of my dies. I'm going to grab the larger frame, and I'm going to place that so that the ombre effect goes to about the halfway point on it. And then beside that, I've got a stitched rectangle, and I'm going to want that to start just a little bit, like just beyond the corner. So that's actually where I'm going to lay it down. Now you can see on here I have some washi tape on this. That's just to help it hold it in place. That's going to actually be more important in our next step than in this step, but it's there anyways. So then I'm going to place this on top and run that through. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to pop these out. And you may have noticed that this die I didn't fully cut out. That's because we're actually going to be cutting it even one more time. So now I've got this lovely piece here. I'm going to keep this because this is a beautiful background. I can do some stamping on here and use a punch or something to cut that out. Or even, I think the flower punch we're using, or some leaf punches, I can cut that out and have some really beautiful leaves. So I'm not going to get rid of that. So we've got this piece that we didn't fully cut. I'm going to remove it here, and you can see the washi tape doesn't stick to this, so I haven't torn this at all. So I already counted out that this is 15 little scallops across the side, and because I'm trying to make a square now, I'm going to actually count up from the bottom 15 more little scallops. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now that I've found the 15th scallop, I'm going to flip this over and make sure that my paper is falling perfectly back into those scallops. And then that washi tape that I had on the other side, I'm going to press it down so that it's holding it in place. And I'm going to run this piece through my machine one more time. One more go. And now I can move this out of the way for just a few minutes. Oops, I just lost my handle. I'll have to go pick that up. All right. Oh, I've got dirty plates. I need to clean these. Yikes. I was cutting some black paper for a card class, and I always find black paper really makes everything quite dirty. All right, so this little piece we can just get rid of. And now we've got a beautiful little ombre square. So just because there's only rectangles in this package does not mean that you can't really play around with them and make some different shapes. I'm actually just going to grab you another card. Here's one that I did the other day, and instead of taking my rectangle and making a square, I took my rectangle this way and then cut it shorter to make a long rectangle, long thin rectangle, unlike anything that's in the pack. So using these rectangles to make other shapes is really easy and allows you to do so much more with them. All right, so we're done with that piece now as well. We can put all this to the side for a moment. We will be die cutting one more piece from this set, but for now we're going to get busy making the rest of this tag. All right, so I'm going to glue these two pieces together now so that I don't end up with glue everywhere. I'm just going to put glue on the base one, just in the center, because I know that this piece is going to cover that. Then I'm going to line this up so that it's kind of equal top to bottom. And because we die cut these, it's a perfect transition here with our colors. There we go. So that is how we're going to create our base. Now I'm just going to grab another little scrap piece of paper. I'm sure I've got some scraps around here. There we go. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper. And I'm using the Sending Healing Hug sentiment from this stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it in Bermuda Bay. Okay. So I'm just lightly tapping this, making sure to get it fully inked up. And then the last time I used this image, I did get a little bit of an edge across the top, and I did again. Luckily, because of the die cut that I'm going to be using, none of that matters. That's all going to get cut off. But you do want to be aware when you're inking to not, not let that happen. I should probably have cleaned that before I used it. That's probably residue from the last time. So I'm going to pull out my die cut machine one more time, and we're going to use this fancy little guy. It perfectly cuts out these words. So there's the machine. I just got to go grab my handle that fell off. All right, there we go. So I've got a little piece of washi tape on here as well. That's just going to help me line this up and then keep it where I want it, because although there's plenty of room for this sentiment, it is, kind of, you don't want it to look a little bit off because it is quite a close cut. So I've just got a little piece of washi tape there to hold it in place once I've got my position. With that done, I'll pop that out. There we go. All right, so I didn't quite cut all of that off. That's okay though, because the second thing that we're going to do with this to really make it stand out, because if we put this on here right now, it'll stand out a little bit, but it won't really pop. So we're going to grab our Bermuda Bay ink again, and this time I've just got a little wedge of Stampin' sponge. I'm going to ink that up, and then I'm going to just softly ink the edges. And this is where that dark line that we were getting when we were brayering that I didn't want, this is where I do want it, because I want the edges of this to really pop. Okay, and that's also going to hide those little bit of ink that I got on there that I didn't want. So double duty. All right, so that's done. And put those to the side. So this I'm now going to attach using some dimensionals. So I always use all the bits. So I've just taken the edges of a sheet of dimensionals and cut them, and I'm just going to use those. I'm going to use quite a few of these just to make sure that this stays nice and popped up even through the mail. All right. Here we go. That's done. And put that right on in the center of my card. There. All right. Now on the back of this, oh, actually before that, I'm just going to grab a hole punch. Now, this is not your standard office hole punch. This is a much smaller punch. I believe it's 1/8 of an inch hole. So you just want to create a small hole in the top so that we can use some white twine and just make a little bow at the top of this. So I'm just going to decide how much. That's about enough to be able to work with. I don't want too little of the twine because then it becomes very challenging to actually tie a bow. So I'm going to go and do one crossover. And when I do this crossover, I'm going to try as much as possible to get that kind of positioned down near the hole so that it's kind of covering the hole. And then I'm going to do my bunny ears to create my bow here. All right. Another one that's great for doing this is the polka dot tool because it really fills in that space from the hole and creates a nice soft, like even though it's a thicker ribbon, it's so delicate that it creates a nice soft look on the card. All right, and with that done, I'm going to trim up my edges. Don't want those frayed ends. There we go. So I've got a little bow on there. Now I'm going to flip this over and put dimensionals on the 4 corners. That's going to allow this to pop up on our card front. Okay. Oh, no, I'm not ready to peel that. Sorry, I don't have my card front ready. My goodness. All right, so for our card front today, I've got a piece of Coastal Cabana DSP. This comes out of our Brights DSP pack. And I've got a piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock cut at 8.5 by 5.5 and then scored at 4 1/4. So I'm going to fold that in half. And I'm going to get my little trimmer and trim this one down. And I'm going to trim it to 4 inches. Oh, and I always forget this one. Darn it. It doesn't actually go far enough for me to be able to see the 5.5. So I'm going to have to grab my bigger paper cutter or paper trimmer. All right. So, and then this one, we want it all the way to 5.5. There we go. All right. So with that trimmed down, I'm just going to glue this. Oh, I didn't. Sorry, not 5.5. We want to actually trim a little bit off of that. Our card base is 5.5, so I want that at 5 1/4. All right. There we go. Okay, so that leaves just a really nice border on our card front when I've trimmed that at 4 by 5 1/4. So I love my liquid glue. You can use whatever you'd like to adhere this to your card front. So snail, turn tape, you could even do dimensionals if you wanted, but there's quite a few layers coming onto this card in a moment, so I'm going to just use liquid glue. And there we go. Try and get that as straight as possible. So there is our card front. And now we are ready to attach this to our card front. Oh, push that one down. All right, so this So Sentimental bundle is in the catalog, and I really wanted to highlight it this week because I had a lot of people asking me, oh, I see so many people using rectangular scalloped edged die cuts. Where are those from? And they're kind of hidden away in the catalog. So I just wanted to really show you these and highlight what can be done with them. So now the next thing that we're going to do is when you make any purchase right now out of any of our catalogs, for every $60 you spend, you actually earn free sale-a-bration items. So we're going to use 2 of those sale-a-bration items. So we've got the Thoughtful Blooms stamp set. This is after spending $60. And then after another $120, you're able to grab this Thoughtful Blooms punch. Now, the cool thing about this punch is that it's actually going to carry over into our next catalog. So if you don't get the 120 now to earn this, you're actually going to be able to purchase this at a later date. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to just grab some scrap paper. I really don't need any kind of big bits. I keep all of these extra little bits from when I do punches or cutting or anything. And because they're perfect for this kind of thing. So I'm going to grab this image from our Thoughtful Bloom stamp set and some Calypso Coral ink. And I'm going to stamp 3 flowers. And I'm going to try and keep them near the edges so that it will be easy to work with my punch. And 1 in there. All right, so with my 3 flowers stamped in Calypso Coral, I will use our punch. So I have to unlock it, and then I can slide this in, line it up, and there we go. I do think that they're going to have another stamp set that coordinates with this. We have been told that the Thoughtful Bloom stamp set will not carry over, but hey, if you've already got it, then great, you'll be able to work with that. But yeah, they are going to have another stamp set coming out that coordinates with this. I'm kind of excited to see what that might look like. Kind of like what they did with our star dies. They had that Christmas stamp set, and then they came out with the new one in the mini catalog right now. So it's kind of nice when you get a product that coordinates with more than one thing. All right. So with those cut out, I'm going to move this out of the way, bring our card back in, and I'm going to use some mini dimensionals this time to attach these to our card front. So I'm going to lay these out kind of like this. So I'm going to actually put the dimensionals under just 2 of the outside petals on each of these flowers. I know, Janice, this punch is so cute. Even without the stamps, it is such a sweet little flower. I'm so happy that they came out with just such a simple, easy to use flower. All right, so with those done, I'm going to also grab a mini glue dot and put it on the opposite petal so that this is going to stay down on my tag here on the front as well. So 2 dimensionals under the ones that are going off and a mini glue dot on the one that's going on. All right, and then the same thing up here. I'm just going to do 2 on the outside edges. That's going to keep it level with what I've already got, and then 1 on the inside to attach it to the tag. All right, so any 2 will do. And here we go. 1 more glue dot. All right, so pull these off, pull that off. So it's a happy day in our household today. My report cards are done. They have been handed in, and we are on the home stretch to spring break. I have 6 teaching days left until spring break. The kids are getting a little bit nutty at school, especially since we're getting ready for Primary Days of Music Festival next week. So we've been busy painting banners because we're the hosting school, and practicing our songs and getting ready for that. All right, so our next step is to just add a few embellishments. I'm using the Iridescent Sequins assortment. This is out of the main catalog, and they are just gorgeous. So doesn't really matter what color. Oh, there we go. We'll use those ones. Oh, that's a lot of them. All right, we'll put a few of those back. So I am using these small glue dots that came in my paper pumpkin because I find that they fit on the back of these just perfectly, even when they're not the larger ones. If you're using the larger, oh, whoops, I just put the backing into my sequins. That's not good. If you're using the larger sequins, then the regular glue dots work. But for anything smaller, the glue dots from the paper pumpkin work beautifully. All right, so let's grab a few more of these. That'll be a nice one. So I'm going to just kind of try and keep similar colors with similar colors. So I'm going to use like the orangish pinkish ones on the flowers. And then I am going to do blues and greens on the rest of the card. Our primary days, the assembly that we're going to do for the whole school is on, is it Friday the 13th? Whatever that last Friday is right before spring break. Not this Friday, but next Friday at 1 o'clock, Janice. But because you're a teacher, you could probably also sneak in and see. We're going to have like 2nd Street, Forest Grove. So if you know people from there and want to see those teachers, then come on up on the Thursday. I believe we start, maybe 10 o'clock, I think. So yeah, that one there won't be parents at. They'll just be the other schools. And then 1 o'clock on Friday, next Friday, will be for our school. So yeah, that'd be great. If you come on the Friday, everybody will be in celebration mode. Okay, so there we have our centers of our flowers. Now I've just gone and thrown sequins everywhere. I'm just going to pick these up, and I'm going to throw a few sequins just on the back of this card, but I'm going to keep it really subtle, like I said, by putting blues on blue and greens on green. So let's see, just grabbed a green here. Oh, come on. These are a little fiddly. There we go. Just pop that on there. And then grab a blue one. Here. All right. So sale-a-bration's on for the rest of the month. So lots of new rewards just released. I'm going to be doing a card class next Friday, actually, right after my primary days of music assembly that night, doing a card class that actually is featuring all of the new sale-a-bration items. So the vellum paper, the silver foil paper, the Rise and Shine stamp set. What else? Basically, if it was in that new catalog or new sale-a-bration's offerings, we're going to be using it at that Friday the 13th class. So come on down. You can register for that on my Facebook page or on my website. And we'll be playing with those. So that is it for this week's card. This is the So Sentimental bundle with the Thoughtful Blooms Sale-a-bration rewards to accent that. And I will see you maybe before next Wednesday. Oh no, it's still too early in the month. Paper Pumpkin, last date to purchase that is the 10th. And so, yeah, it'll be the week after. The first week of spring break, I'll be on with a Paper Pumpkin card. So I will see you next Wednesday for another Facebook Live showcasing some of our product. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the sunshine. I heard possible flurries on the weekend. Ugh. So get out there and enjoy this today. Bye. Thank you guys. Thanks, Val. Thanks, Janice.